There's a possible breakthrough in the wars between Israel and the terrorist armies funded by Iran. Now, Israel's cabinet is reportedly voting in the next hours on a ceasefire plan the US and France have worked out with Hezbollah. That's a terrorist army in South Lebanon. I should point out this truce or ceasefire, whatever it's going to be, is only with Hezbollah, not Hamas over in Gaza. I can understand why Hezbollah has had enough. It was firing thousands of rockets quite happily into Israel after their mass attack initially on October 7, and then Israel finally hit back hard, wiped out Hezbollah's top leadership, all of them, disabled or killed thousands of its fighters, and destroyed most of its rockets. In the hours before this cabinet meeting, Israel was still stepping up the attacks on Hezbollah targets, hitting a couple of dozen in just 1 hour. Joining me from Jerusalem is Mark Sofer, who is Israel's ambassador to Australia. Mark, great to see you again. Thank you for your time. What are you expecting from this news of a ceasefire?
Well, first of all, we should know that this is the Middle East, and in the Middle East, nothing's over until it's over. And there's quite a lot of opposition to the proposed agreement, not only from the far right, incidentally, but also from people to the left of the government. But if it does go through, I think there are three perhaps major implications of it and possible advantages. Number one, of course, is the indiscriminate bombing of Israel by Hezbollah, which has been going on not only for the last year, but well before that, will come to an end, hopefully forever, although that's impossible to rely on the Hezbollah and its Iranian funders and rocket and missile givers. But on the other hand, more likely is that there's over 100,000 Israelis who have been displaced over the past year because they're unable to live in what's left of their homes, will be able to, sooner or later to return to them. And I think that's a very important position. They are completely displaced in their own country. And thirdly, hopefully that Hamas now will be alone. It won't have Hezbollah on its back, helping it. And so perhaps they'll be more induced to go for a hostage release or a hostage agreement, or release the 101 hostages they're still holding in the most terrible situation imaginable in the tunnels and of Gaza. So there is a lot going for an accord, and hopefully something good will come out of it. But there is no trust in Israel for Hezbollah and no trust for the Iranian fund payers and all of the supporters of Hezbollah. So it's difficult to know what the future will bring.
Now, Mark, you know, look, I know you're no friend of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but what do you think of the International Criminal Court issuing warrants for his arrest for alleged war crimes in Gaza, and with our government, our Labor government, not ruling out arresting him if he comes here? Here's our Foreign Minister, Penny Wong.
I have made clear many times in this place that all parties to the conflict must comply with international law, and I again say we respect the independence of the International Criminal Court and its important role in upholding international law.
Now, our government also banned your former Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked from coming here to give a talk. What's your response to all this?
Well, the first part about Netanyahu, as you say, Andrew, I'm not really a fan under any circumstances of Netanyahu. However, the fact that no investigation whatsoever was made of the war by the ICC in the past year or more shows that this is clearly a political rather than a judicial decision. And moreover, President Bashar Assad of Egypt, who has killed over 700,000 of his own people, haven't been indicted. Neither have the Yemenite leaders who have starved 50,000 and more children to death for a year for the past 5 or 6 years, or the Hezbollah leaders themselves haven't been indicted. So clearly this is a political decision, even for those who are somewhat and vehemently, I would say, opposed to the leadership of Prime Minister Netanyahu. We don't take this as a judicial decision, an impartial one. As far as Ayelet Shaked's, the decision to not give a visa to Ayelet Shaked, I must say I'm a little bit, more than a little bit perplexed. I would say actually astounded. She's not my cup of tea. I don't agree with much of what she says and what she believes in. However, she certainly is no rabble-rouser. She's certainly no extremist. She's certainly, actually, it's counterproductive in the sense that these are exactly the sort of people that one should engage with, not ban. And these are the type of people that can be or may be able to be induced and convinced that their position is not the correct position. And these are the type of people that we need the dialogue with, not boycotting of. So I don't really understand the decision at all. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me whatsoever. And I must say that even one who is no fan of hers, like myself, I'm totally and utterly perplexed.
And the Australian government's response then, they've made two decisions like that, distance themselves from Israel at the UN and elsewhere. It's ugly, Mark. It's ugly, I'm afraid.
Well, I'd rather not get involved into Australia per se and the political system there and the situation there. But I will say that on the two issues, on the ICC, I don't, as a non-supporter of Netanyahu, as I said earlier, I am not in, I see this as nothing but a political decision by the ICC, not a judicial one. And I have no understanding whatsoever of the decision of why Ayelet Shaked was refused entry. She is not even, she holds no public office. She's not even, she probably isn't known to 99.9% of the Australian public. She won't go around rousing public sentiment of any one form or another. And I'm not, I just don't understand it, completely don't understand it.
Pure politics, Mark. I'm afraid Mark Sofer is pure politics and a very ugly shift that has dismayed many, many Jews in Australia, many who have contacted me to say they don't recognise this country anymore. Mark Sofer, thank you so much indeed for your time.